Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run, run to nowhere. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday night, happy 2025. I know we've not been on here a whole lot this year, but we're hopefully back and kicking things off very, very strong with a wonderful guest tonight.
Very excited about
this. Yeah. But we want to thank you all so much for tuning in and welcome you. And you're going to be watching and locked in for the next hour with myself and my co-host, Dr. Christy Sumner.
Hey, everybody. Like we said, thank you for joining us. We've got a great guest tonight. We're so excited to speak to him tonight. But just a couple of housekeeping things that we've got going on here. We've had America Selly. She's making her presence known.
As she always does.
Yep. So we've had a very busy January here at the historic Scott County Jail. Probably one of our better Januaries that we've had here. Paranormal investigations, guided ghost hunts. We've actually had some people take advantage of our daytime guided ghost hunts. We're still offering those for just a little bit longer. Rugby's been doing very well with paranormal investigations as well as lantern tours. So great January here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been having a kind of a special, you've been tuning in. You've heard us talk about our special that we're offering during the months of January, February, and about half of March, or at least 2 weeks into March. We are offering extended hours on our investigations of the historic Scott County Jail, where for the price of the regular 6.5 hour investigation, you will get 2 extra hours added on, one on the front end and one on the back end. And you get that for the price of the 6.5 hour investigation. And that runs through the time change, which I believe is March 9th. So we still have some dates available on that. And because we still are on winter hours, we will be offering that investigations every single night of the week. So we just ask that you book it, give us at least 3 days advance notice on that. But if you go onto our website there, historicscottcojail.com, you can go on and book that investigation, guided ghost hunt, or flashlight tour. And with historic rugby, actually, we'll kind of talk about historic rugby just a little bit separate, because we're not offering the extended hours on that, but we are offering some other special things that people have taken advantage of in January.
Yeah. So we're offering daytime tours of historic rugby. So rugby itself is actually closed, but our tours are ongoing. So you can book an after dark tour. But if you want a historical tour with that paranormal twist during the day, we can offer those as well. So if you're interested, just visit our website or call here at the jail, and we'll be able to take care of you on that. We've already had several people take advantage. They didn't want to do it after dark, so we actually did it for them during the day, and it was a lot of fun. Actually had some activity. As you know, paranormal activity doesn't just happen during the nighttime, it happens during the day. So that's definitely what we're experiencing at rugby right now.
Yeah, and you can go onto our website, historyhighwayshaunts.com, and that will give you the direct link to the historic rugby after dark site, as well as the historic Scott County Jail site on there. And as Chris had mentioned, we did offer this past week. We had a daytime guided ghost hunt at the jail, which I got to say was so much fun.
It was actually really fun. We'll be sharing some of the evidence that we captured on that. It's probably one of the most interactive experiences I've had at the jail so far. So we'll be sharing that in a future episode, and everybody will get to see. It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and so when we go into our February, ow, sorry, Silly just scratched me. When we go into our February hours here, which we're not going back to full schedule just yet, but for the February hours, we will be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. To 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is our normal hours there. But if you are traveling through the area, we still are offering that where you can call us any day of the week, and we will make every best effort if we are close by to come in and open the jail for a guided daytime tour, if it's anything other than our daytime hours. And so we will be also offering those, as Chris said, those daytime investigations. We probably can't do it on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because we will be open, but any of those other days we can offer daytime investigations if people are interested in that.
Yep. So we hope you come and take advantage of that. We're also the last couple of days, as well as moving into next week, we'll be opening or we're setting up new displays and different exhibits we're very excited about. So we'll be able to make some announcements and show some pretty cool pictures of what we're doing here in the next couple of days. But Miranda's going to be working up some different banners and stuff that we're going to be hanging up. So we're really excited about that. So be aware of that we've got coming. Really excited about that.
That's why we probably look a little worse
rough
for wear today because we've been digging in and getting, our hands dirty and stuff, working on these exhibits. A lot of things trying to take advantage of this closed time.
Yeah.
Also, let's see here. We had a big meeting the other day. We're working on some really fun things for Valentine's Day. Hopefully we will be announcing that. Not hopefully, but we will be announcing that this weekend. We think we're probably going to be doing something special for Historic Rugby After Dark as well as the jail. So if you're looking for something kind of different to spend with your Valentine or somebody special, we say bring them on over to the jail or bring them on over to Historic Rugby, because we hope to have something pretty cool planned that you may want to add into your Valentine's Day plans.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that, as well as motorcycle rides. You guys know me and Chris are big avid bikers. And so we've got the ones that we had the last 2 years were sold out, big hits. We're trying to plan something on these motorcycle rides on a monthly basis. And so we've actually, I think, at least got 5 different routes that partners with some great locations. So yeah, stay tuned for that because we'll be announcing those soon. And we will, for anyone that's a biker, we will be putting all of that information. We will be excuse me, I can't even talk. We will be having rain out dates. So don't be afraid to book your investigation or book your ride. And that is going to rain out because we will have a rain out date for that as well.
Yep. So I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. We are so excited about the guests that we're speaking to tonight. Anybody in the paranormal field probably knows this guy. He is a legend in the paranormal world, and he's a great representative of Fort Mifflin. Cannot say enough great things about Greg O'Brien. So everybody, please welcome Greg O'Brien from Fort Mifflin.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Good day.
Good. Yeah. Every time somebody asks me one of the best locations that we've investigated, Fort Mifflin is always right there at the top of the list, not just for the paranormal, but the history is absolutely fascinating. I love doing the deep dive into the history of Fort Mifflin. And so for those of us who don't really know, that's in the chat room, why don't you tell us a little bit about Fort Mifflin and your role there?
Well, great. Well, what I like to tell people about the Fort Mifflin, it is, to me, it's the most unique site for paranormal. I mean, the history is rich. It was laid out in 1771 by the British to protect the city of Philadelphia, which was the largest English-speaking city in the colonies at that time. Basically they went a little over budget. And the British stopped working on it by 1774. And come 1775, the shot was heard around the world. So you had a committee headed by Ben Franklin that said, "Hey, we need to protect the city of Philadelphia because it was, that's where the future capital of the United States, so they shored it up. I mean, the British were using, of course, stone. The Americans used earth and logs to shore it up. And come 1777, it was the siege of the Philadelphia. There was the Battle of Brandywine, September 11th, in 1777. Washington got outflanked, and they lost that battle and they retreated. And that's when the Continental Congress skedaddled out of Philadelphia and went to York, Pennsylvania, and they got the Liberty Bell. They hid it on a wagon and took it up to Bethlehem and hid it in a church. And then William Howe came in September, I think it was the 21st, came into Philadelphia unopposed. And you had this island. Fort Mifflin was built on an island called Mud Island, and there was 400 men there. And Washington gave the order to hold to the last extremity. And so the British had to come up the Delaware River through right past Fort Mifflin, and there was um, up to the 1,100 or so British warships coming up the river. And this little fort, and there was a fort across the river, Fort Mercer in New Jersey. They held the British off for 5 weeks. At the height of the siege, the British were firing 1,000 to 1,100 cannonballs an hour at the fort. So these 400 men held out as long as they could. Eventually, there was just ruins and so much carnage. Only 150 of them were able to leave. And it became the nickname the Fort That Saved America because it went from September to November and enabling Washington to have some skirmishes afterwards, but enable him to fight and establish winning quarters at Valley Forge. So right now, it's one of the few remaining Revolutionary battle sites. So you have the death by battle. Now you have also death by disease. When the fort was being rebuilt under John Adams in the late 1790s, it was during the yellow fever epidemic of Philadelphia. So you had all these yellow fever deaths. So boats had coming up in the Philly had to be stopped at Fort Mifflin. They were checked. Anybody that was sick was taken off the boat, and then there was they called it a lazaretto. It was up on another island, Providence Island, um, and the sick were taken there, and then the ships were anchored off the fort and quarantined for weeks or months until they were given the okay to sail back up to the Philadelphia. So you had those deaths from sickness. Civil War became a military prison, housing Confederate prisoners, mostly from the Battle of Gettysburg. Um, Political prisoners. There were civilian prisoners. A lot of people don't know about that during the Civil War. If you opposed Lincoln, if you didn't like the war, they rounded you up and threw you in prison. So there was a political prisoners there, and plus Union prisoners, those that were convicted, any military crime, desertion mostly, but murder or rape or whatever, they were thrown in prison there too with Fort Mifflin. So there was a lot of death by sickness there also. It was mostly dysentery. And the conditions were horrific. They slept on dirt floors and they basically slept in their own waste. So
Wow.
disease ran through, it wasn't just the prisoners, it ran through the whole garrison. So you had women and children and dying also from sickness there at the fort. And since it was a military fort, you had death by executions. You had firing squads and then hangings. The most famous is William Howe, who was the only public hanging at Fort Mifflin. They sold tickets for him to be hung, but there were multiple other executions, and they were all by firing squad. Since it was an island, a lot of drowning deaths. Bodies wash up along the shores. Also, it's documented there was a sergeant, and they found his body floating in the moat one morning.
Oh my.
And so they came out and did an investigation. They said it was accidental. So probably somebody that got drunk and want to relieve themselves in the moat and ended up floating face down. So so you have all those different deaths, layers of history, layers of death, layers of hauntings there at the fort.
And so when really did Fort Mifflin, when it became a historical site, really start embracing the paranormal? Because for us, historic preservation through after dark tourism is a very big thing. We talk about it a lot, and I love the way that Fort Mifflin really embraces both the historical site and the paranormal site, and they do it so well together. You, as a representative of Fort Mifflin, does a great job of doing that. So when did you really start embracing that paranormal and allowing people to come in and do this?
It started back. The stories were told, and there were books written, historic the hauntings of Philadelphia, all these different books. So people started getting in, and basically, it took off. I would say really when with taps,
Mhm.
ghost hunters. Um, I was there with a scout group, and this was before ghost hunters were there, and they were telling the ghost stories,
Mhm.
but there wasn't a lot of investigations, but the it was still known to be haunted, and um, we were even there before the ghost hunters, and the place was off the charts. That's really when I started getting interested in the paranormal, because everything that could happen happened that night. It was just incredible. It was a weekend after the siege reenactment weekend, and the place was just nuts. Um, we were chasing full bodies all around. We were doing head count of scouts because we were voices and we were seeing bodies. It was just nuts.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so it got embraced once Ghost Hunters, of course, got there. That was the first hour episode of a one location. If you go way back to Ghost Hunters, they used to do two per episode.
Mhm.
Fort Mifflin was the first one. They did a full hour there, and and then they came back, and then Ghost Hunter Academies, they came back, so they were big supporter of Fort. So after that, it's really when the whole investigation started. We started Paranormal Fridays, at least once a month. Have paranormal groups have an open investigation with different paranormal groups hosting for the and started booking the sites. So right, I guess it'll be the second year after Ghost Hunters there. So we started embracing it, and then we developed our open investigations, sleep with the ghost programs, our candlelight ghost tours. We've all the candlelight ghost tours go back for a while, but before that, they used to do like a haunted thing and everything. It was just a regular haunted place. It wasn't historical, and we got rid of that just to go
Yeah.
with the haunted. So our candlelight ghost tours is excellent because we go around, walk around with the groups, and we tell the stories of the hauntings, and those of us that are there. The spirits know us. They call us by our names, and we've all had our own personal experiences, so we're able to tell about our own personal experiences as we take the groups around on our tours. So yeah, I mean, paranormal and scouting are basically our bread and butter with the for the fort.
That's awesome.
Well, and one of the things I love is this really about this location is this really fits in with our Jailhouse series, actually, because just hearing you tell the history about how it was used as a jail, it really fits with
It
that.
does. Yeah, it
Yeah.
Yeah,
does. Because
yeah.
it, and so the hauntings that you've experienced there, do you find that they run through the timelines of everything from the Revolutionary to the Civil War to really even after that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And I wanted to say with the history was it was your longest active military fort. It was deactivated in 1954. So it was all the way through the Korean War. It was an active military fort. Technically, you could still say it's active because the grounds behind it was deeded to the city of Philadelphia in '62, the historic buildings, but the rest of the grounds where when it was an active military base is still that's the Army Corps of Engineers is back there, and there's Army National Guard units that are there, and so that is still property that was all Fort Mifflin, and they still use the grounds. They'll come over. They open up the gates and they do their when they have to recertify for their physical fitness. They come through. They do their runs and their calisthenics, and they still use the grounds and the promotions and retirements. They come over and do ceremonies. So technically, you
Oh,
can still say the fort is active, an active military, but it still gets used by the military. So we're proud of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, me personally, I've seen everything, and I've seen from the Revolution and Civil War, um, and women and children, and you just don't know what you're going to run into. It's just it's because with the layers, it's just I've seen people in suits.
oh, wow.
So top hats, with the all dress. So it just covers a lot. And there was, before the airport expansion, that ground was all marshy and just open. And it was if you needed to get rid of a body, that's where they were dumped back there.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So real quick, does the city actually own it now, or is it the historical society or the board?
The city, it was deeded to the city in 1962. It's a nonprofit group, the Fort Mifflin on the Delaware, that's in charge of
Okay.
maintaining it. That's where we have a lot of little issues there with the city and stuff to try and get things done because we try. Uh, we have to go through them to see what we can get done, and if so it's just it makes it a little more difficult to get
Mhm.
things done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the nonprofit then is responsible for getting all the funds, or do you get anything from the city?
We get all the funds. The city, as of now, pays for the utilities.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
it. And
That
and
is.
our phone lines have been down for quite some time because they're antiquated, and we've had no power for 2 days. So
Oh.
so
Well, and,
Yeah.
and like I said, that's what I love about what you do because it seems like the nonprofit has fully embraced the paranormal as a generating revenue mechanism.
yes,
And when we first met, when we investigated there, gosh, about 6 years ago now, you were just getting ready to go out on and do something that next weekend at if I remember correctly, at some sort of a festival at there, excuse me, in Philadelphia. So the fact that you are able to go out and actually represent the fort from a historical standpoint, but also paranormal, is really interesting to me because not a lot of people embrace that outside of our paranormal community. So I love the fact that you have that dual role and you go to like historical functions, but
right.
promote the paranormal as well.
Yes, I mean, you need the history to have the paranormal. So
Hmm.
you have to promote, the history and as I say, it's so unique with the layers and layers of history there that there's so much you can talk about.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what has been your standout paranormal experience? One that you every time that's your go-to answer when somebody says, "What have you experienced here?"
Um, I've had a few. I'll tell you the one I was there. It was all by myself, and I was waiting for a group to come. So I had the front gate locked, and I was walking out to check because it was getting close to me open up the gate to let people in. And as I walked out, there's a full body Civil War soldier walking on out by the parking lot over and detail is blue. I saw he had a V for a private, and the V was red. The insignia was red, and he's walking. He had his backpack, his hat, and he just walked and he vanished on me. And of course, I'm just standing there, not taking out my camera or anything to take a picture. And we have every year we have our Civil War event. We have when it was a military prison, so we'll have Confederate prisoners, and we have the Union Guards and everything, and so we have that every year. And so noticed none of the Union had a red insignia, and so I asked, would there been a Union unit with a with the red insignia. And they said, yes, that would have been an artillery unit. And so that makes so much sense because there was a artillery unit stationed at the fort, of course, to defend the Delaware while it was still had the military, the prisoners there. So that was really that for me that was jaw dropping.
Mhm.
But the most unique was I was sitting in the West Sally Port. We have these are called Sally Ports. They were guard stations. When you come in, that's a Sally Port. That's Sally Port is the main gate, but there's an East and West Sally Port, and that's where guards would stay while they were on guard duty. They had their own little rooms and everything. And that West Sallyport has activity. It's one of my favorite spots right now. And there's figures, seen a taller figure and a smaller figure that walk back up and around. So myself and this other person were in there, and there's bunk beds in there, and I'm sitting on the bottom bunk bed, and we see the shadow figures walking out in the hallway outside, and invite them in, and of course, invite them in, and the equipment that we had starts going nuts and wild. And next thing you know, I feel pressure on my thighs and then pressure on my shoulders. Something climbed up me over me from my thighs to my shoulders to go to the top bunk.
Oh,
Uh,
that's awesome.
and then it came down on my shoulders, down, and ran out. And the person that was with me became violently sick because it was just like the energy just was incredible.
Mhm.
And then later on, this person said, "You won't believe what I caught on the audio of these EVPs." And then I'm going to download them on the computer, and then I'll send them to you. And the next thing you know, she goes, "You won't believe it. Once I downloaded everything to the computer crashed, and she lost everything."
Oh
Oh,
no. Oh,
Yeah.
that is wild.
But yeah, that's that's I tell people there's physical contact there. Just don't be, nothing's going to hurt you. Nothing,
Mhm.
nothing. We don't have anything demonic or evil. We don't allow people provoking or anything like that. So respect the dead. Respect these men and women and children that died here at the fort.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, one of the interesting things for those who have not been there, they have casemates there at Fort Mifflin. Now, casemate 11, that's the interesting one, right? Do you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
kind of explain about that one?
yeah. Casemate 11. We knew it was there, but it was buried. It was rediscovered in 2006. Um, when they built this one called the Torpedo Magazine, it was a they dug a channel out from the fort out to the Delaware, and they had this well, and they thought that they dropped these dummy torpedoes out, they would be able to take out ships, but they realized how impractical it was. I guess once they shot a few out, they turned around and came back to the fort. They decided that wasn't a good idea, so it never got used to launch torpedoes. But when they built that, they ended up burying this casemate 11. Now, casemate 11 was original part of the fort from the 1700s. That we think that was the old powder magazine, but when it was re-excavated, it was like an Egyptian tomb. It was
Mhm.
airtight. They found all kinds of artifacts in there and signatures all written all up on the walls. And it turns out that was solitary confinement during the Civil War. And the most famous prisoner that was held there was Private William Howe, who was a Union soldier.
Mhm.
And actually, he was actually a hero. He was a Battle of Fredericksburg. He dropped the American flag and carried it through battle. And he became ill and was supposed to report to a field hospital in Washington, D.C. But as everyone knows, back then the hospitals weren't very sanitary, and basically, you can get a cut and die of an infection going into the hospital. So he ended up deciding he was going to recover at home, and he walked all the way to his house in Perkiomenville in Pennsylvania, up in Bucks County. So he walked from Virginia all the way to his home in Pennsylvania, And then 6 months went by. They didn't hear from them. There were U.S. Marshals sent. They didn't identify themselves. A shot rang out. One of the marshals was killed. Hal tried to escape, and he was caught a few days later, and then taken to Fort Mifflin, held. Was accused of trying to make an escape. That's when he was in casemate 5 with the other Union prisoners, and thrown in casemate 11, and then taken to Eastern State, tried and convicted of murder. And then they brought him back to the Fort Mifflin and hung him right there at the fort. So yeah, casemate 11 it's very confining. It's I say 8 people at the most in there. But it's unique. I mean, people get in there and they don't feel very well. They get sick. They get very lightheaded. They just feel emotional. I mean, so many people start crying. If anybody saw the Portals to Hell episode with, and you'll see that's what a lot of people happen. They just go crazy emotionally while they're in there. So, and I know you caught some of the best evidence I've ever seen in casemate 11. It's unique. I mean, I had a group one time. It was during the week, and it was husband and wife and two boys. They're both teenagers, but it was for the wife's birthday present to come and investigate. And that night it was wild, and we were in casemate 11, and of course it's pitch black. You can't see anything, and we're all in the one back area, and all of a sudden you hear this big thump, and this right next to me, and get the flashlight, and then there was a part of a brick right there. And I got all excited, I go, wow, can you believe that they actually threw this? And they're like, well, why are you so excited, happy? I'd be scared. I said, no, they just wanted to let us know they are here, because if they wanted to hit me, they would have hit me. That was just letting them know, because you're asking, hey, let us know that you're here, and they did. So that was a very good experience. I was happy that something got thrown at me.
as we all are when that happens at all these various locations. But to your point, I've got to say, casemate 11 for us, when Soul Sisters Paranormal was investigating there, we captured some amazing things, and it was intelligent. Several EVPs that we heard in the moment responding to our questions, and we actually have that video footage. If you don't mind, real quick.
No, I love this thing.
It's one that we have, so just kind of give everybody an example of some of the stuff that happens at Fort Mifflin. Soul Sisters Paranormal, we were investigating there, and it's the one with the shadow. Okay, I have that one up. And so it's a subterranean casemate. You got to go down these stairs, and then there's a doorway that turns to the right, and there's a set of steps. And we had a night vision video camera and a laser grid set up in this casemate. And to Greg's point, it's very small and confining. And we'd left the stationary camera to operate on its own by the laser grid. And so we were on the complete other side of the fort, and this is kind of what we captured. Let's see if we can pull this up here.
Get that to stop.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of go through. So you'll just see a shadow figure walk through this laser grid that we had set up. Miranda's queuing it up right here. And it's something that we certainly can't explain because nobody was there at the time.
Okay, let me get
this up real quick.
Yep.
And you can get footsteps up and down that hallway.
Yeah, like I said, we had audible EVPs there as well.
Trying to see
shadow. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
That's just so.
Yeah, so you see that shadow figure walking by, and that's nothing that we can explain because there's nobody in there. Play it one more time, you'll see it come from the right to the left. There it goes. And I
Yep.
mean, that's some of the interesting things that happen there at Fort Mifflin. And it's one of those places that, you can't guarantee paranormal activity anywhere, but it's as close as a guarantee as you can get when you go to Fort Mifflin.
I always tell people it never disappoints because it was with you guys. Were you there when I asked before you left? How was it? And you guys, well, it was pretty quiet. And I specifically say, well, wait till you review your.
Hmm. You absolutely did, and that was what's so great about it. We caught a lot of stuff in our stationary cameras, but again, it was one of those places where it was very intelligent responses.
Yes.
So, for example, we were in casemate 11, and we had left some water and some cigarettes for Hal there, and we asked, "Did you see what we left you?" And we got a yes, thank you. And so, just some of those things were very intriguing.
Well, even just the day tour
Yeah,
that
that's
we
right.
did.
The day tour we did.
Because I've not had the opportunity to investigate there yet, but we were going to investigate somewhere else, and Chris had picked me up there at the airport, and so of course we had to stop and see it, and we were just there for a quick day tour, and went in. I think that was in the casemate, wasn't it?
Casemate 11.
Yeah, we took the our phones in there, taking pictures and listening, just asking questions and stuff. And all of a sudden, we got this. We both heard it with our own ears, disembodied voice respond to us, just kind of casually talking in there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You get a lot with just a lot of times if I'm with a group and I start talking about the history, then they respond right to that. They start in, because they like hearing it. They like hearing me tell the stories about them.
Hmm. Now, do you find that things like anniversaries, dates of significant events, tend to bring out some higher activity? Like, for example, if there was the date of the holding off the Armada there, do you think that brings out heightened activity?
It sure does. Because we always have the weekend. I mean, that was November 14th is when when the Americans abandoned the fort. So we always have our siege weekend as close to that that date as possible. Um, and yeah, it gets very active, especially after a reenactment. With the cannon fires and the musket fires, it really sets things off. So yeah, that's like I say, with the scouts that first year. We were there the weekend after the reenactment weekend, and the place was just nuts. I mean, it was just so. It does trigger it. August, August 24th was William Howe's hanging. You always like to be down there, and you get activity big time in casemate 11 in that area with because of Hal.
Hmm.
Well, and I know you sent us some pictures, and so I'm going to pull those up if you want to set those up and kind of talk a little bit about it.
Yeah,
Give
I
me just a second here.
yeah gave you just a few. There's so many we have, and that a lot of them, they're just so unique. All right, so we do the candlelight tours again, and then this is a group of mine and this woman. I said, "All right, take a picture." That's the artillery shed in the back. Now there should be a new one, a next one that is zoomed in. If you can, I don't know if you can get that bigger. Um, you can
Oh, wow.
see the man sitting up
Look at
his
Yeah.
that.
arm. There's no one up there, and you can see the head and the arm. He's like sitting up on a chair, and
Wow.
there's no one there. The woman that took it and she looked at it, she was freaking out. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it
So
looks like he's looking right down at you.
Yeah.
yes, yes. So it's like, what are you guys
Wow.
doing going by? So so that's
Wow, that's a
yeah we
great picture.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that candlelight
Just
tours
gonna show
always
you.
get a lot. Yep.
So he'd be sitting
He'd be right
right
here.
Right there.
there.
Yeah, right there. Right
Wow.
there.
Look at that.
Yep.
Wow.
It's a great picture.
All
Yep.
right. So,
All right. This is the armory now. This younger um man, he had autism, and he was there with his mother, and he just started taking pictures. And we have this woman that we call the Lady in Blue.
Mm-hmm.
And she's all in a blue dress. When we first saw her, she was all just white. But the more that she's been reported, the more defined she's become, and the dress has become blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be able to next one. I have a
Look
zoom
at that
in. If you go
right
zoom
there.
in, yeah, come on, bigger. She's over. There should go to the other side, right in there.
Yeah, you see like the
See her,
shoulder.
see her face,
Yep.
and she right there. Yeah,
Look
see
at
that face,
that.
and it's blue,
Yeah.
and so she's poking out, looking.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can see her hair and her eyes and
Mm-hmm.
nose features of the facial.
Yeah.
Um, so they were the only two in
Wow.
the building, in the fort that day. And then, I mean, he was taking pictures rapidly. Like he knew to take like 5 in a row. You tell people take the 5 in a row, and so he took pictures all in a row. And then the following ones, it's like she vanishes.
Look at
Um,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and you see by that one window pane, there's this little figure go over. See it towards the other side. That it's like a little wisp.
Mhm.
She disappears, and that appeared. That little figure
Wow.
there, and you can see sort of like a wave there too between that and where she was. It's like and then
The next one.
next one, it just yeah, moves on some more, and then
There it
goes
goes.
there it
Wow.
goes. And so he took, like I say, they were rapid succession pictures, bam, 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 and that's all the different images that came. Where I guess she's like, "Oh, they saw me," and she made a dash to the side.
Wow.
But
That is
she's
incredible.
Yeah, but she's been cited numerous times. We've seen her, and I think she's Elizabeth Pratt. I mean Elizabeth Bunker, who was she died at age 60 of 1864. She was there when it was a prison, and she died. They told her, they said gastrointestinal, so it was probably dysentery.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so she got sick, and ended up dying over at the hospital building. So it's a big hoop skirt. So we think maybe it's her. I don't,
Wow.
don't know. And this is a most infamous picture. This was during a class trip, a fourth grade class trip.
Wow.
This little guy taking pictures left and right. And he had, and then he got home, and the mother's like, "What is this?" And that's in casemate 5, and that
Wow.
that is not the tour guide that was with them.
Wow.
And it's just amazing how
Detailed.
detailed, and how straight cut. One side is detailed, and there's nothing on the other side. It's
Mhm.
just, and he seems to be wet, like he came out of the rain. It wasn't any rain that day or
Wow.
anything. And some people say, well, is he a soldier? Some people think he might be a pirate. We don't know. I mean, because if you look close at that hand, some people think
Yeah,
he
he's
has
got
a
a
hook.
hook.
Like a
Hook. Yeah, he's got a hook.
or a knife or something.
It's a
Yeah.
knife or something. But so there were pirates, and that, up and down the Delaware, you had Blackbeard, you had Captain Kidd. So who
Wow.
knows?
That is
Maybe,
incredible.
yeah, maybe he hid his treasure out there. We don't know.
That is spectacular. Yeah. I think we have one more, an EVP that we actually captured in not that casemate. It was casemate number.
One, I think you got.
Yeah, it was number 1, the one where you said that they held the Union and Confederate soldiers.
Right.
And we were in that room. There was just 5 females, and we asked the question, "What's the name of your president?" And we were able to capture this EVP. I think it's up there, which is kind of interesting.
And Nancy, yes, they found artifacts in there.
Yeah, so I mean, that to us, when we heard it, it was one of those where it's like, that's unbelievable, and it's intelligent. And the fact that you had both Union and Confederate soldiers there, the response of Lincoln to what's the name of your president would be extremely valid. uh,
Right.
to that location. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus the political prisoners that were imprisoned by Lincoln.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And then, if anybody were to watch the rest of our episode, we also, when nobody was in that casemate, we captured the number 57. And you had told us that they had the prisoners numbered so they would count off, their prison number, so they would make sure that everybody was in the casemate at the time. So, I mean, that again was just an amazing capture for us. So a lot can happen there at Fort Mifflin.
I'm going to put the link to your video.
Oh, thank you.
Looking
but
to.
but yeah, there's residual, there's intelligent, there's everything. As I say, male, female, children. We had, children unfortunately died from diseases and drownings. Um, Cats. We have cat ghosts and dog ghosts. It covers everything.
So there was actually families that lived there
Yeah.
during certain times.
Yes, there's the officers' quarters that would, there would have been four families of officers, husband and wives, and then sergeants with the wives. There was Elizabeth Pratt was um, she was in 180. She was living there basically after when the fort was rebuilt late 1790s. So she was there in the early 1800s, and she died. Well, there was her son who was actually born at the fort, and her daughter. They both died in 1802 of yellow fever. It was during the yellow fever epidemic,
Okay.
and then she ended up dying February of 1803 of yellow fever.
Okay.
So yeah, we have an infamous ghost called the Screaming Lady. That people pick up the screams, and it's a well documented haunting. The Army Corps of Engineers has called Philadelphia police over because of the screams coming from the fort when no one's there, and they come out and investigate, and there's nothing there, and people have picked up the name Elizabeth, so it could be Elizabeth Pratt or Elizabeth Bunker who died. That she was the one that died in the Civil War period, prison time. So we know those two Elizabeths that died there. Elizabeth Pratt had her daughter was named Elizabeth too, and they were buried at Fort Mifflin and relocated in the late 1800s to a national cemetery in Philadelphia. So yeah,
A lot going on. So tell us a little bit about what you have coming up. What the fort? What's going on at the fort here this in 2025?
Well, right now we're basically in the planning stage and getting everything set. There's going to be some big announcements coming up. I can't go into it right now, but we're happy. We had last year was a bad year for us, in 2024 we had a huge winter storm came through and damaged the fort very badly. Blew the roof off the officers' quarters, flooded the fort severely, damaged our floodgate. There's a moat that was put in around the fort, and there's a sluice gate, floodgate that's supposed to allow the tidal, the moat flow in and out with the tide. That storm damaged that, so we were having a lot of problems with the flooding. Yeah, last year was just a bad year. So we've been getting ourselves back on feet back on the ground and going ahead and getting everything set this year. Um, so we do our Revolutionary War reenactments, the Civil War. We do a World War II reenactments. We have all kinds of activities at the fort. So right now, again, the calendar isn't out. Fort is officially closed right now. But you go to the events page there, site there, and you go down and you'll see what's coming up. And there'll be a lot there. If you want to come out and investigate the fort, you go to the programs and the paranormal, and all the information's there. How to book you can come in an overnight or a 6 hour. I'm usually the one that's there with everything. So, right now we got some help because I don't know. Like I said, last year was a bad year. I had my heart surgery, so we have got some new help to help me out with the paranormal. So But yeah, we're booking. We want to do at least 30 overnights this year between scouts and paranormal, and right now we're about 15. So. Um,
I'm
uh,
sure it's going to be booking up though.
it's going to
Yeah.
be booking up. It's going to be there. And like I say, just keep an eye on we have some big events coming up. We have some uh, friends from the paranormal community that wanted to do something to help us out after last year. So they reached out, and we'll have quite a few of them coming to the fort. So
Hmm.
just keep an eye on that. And if you can come out anytime, give us a holler and spend some time.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
we and for those in the chat room, listen, anything that happens at Fort Mifflin, their events, their class act, it's always a great time, and just doing a paranormal investigation or just doing a day tour. The historical day tour
Right,
is phenomenal. Um,
right. I mean,
if you're in the
a
area,
lot of people, yeah, come during the day and they walk. We have a lot of people that just come during the day and spend the day doing investigations.
yeah,
And most of the stuff we get people with the like that the lady in blue that was during the day. They captured that. There's so much stuff gets captured. It doesn't have to be nighttime. It's 24 hours a day. Stuff is happening.
yeah. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you have a layover at the Philadelphia airport, it's right
Yes,
there.
Yeah.
right
Go
there.
out during your layover, explore the fort, go back, catch your flight. It's awesome. I can't speak highly enough about Fort Mifflin and Greg, about you, all you've done for the fort and for the paranormal community in general. Like I said, you're one of those that as soon as somebody mentions Greg or the Fort Mifflin, everybody knows you. So
I
you've
appreciate
done a
that.
great job.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I mean, like you guys, I'm at a place I love. If you love it, you do what you need to do for it.
Absolutely. And we've got all the links where you guys can go on and follow what they're doing on Facebook. Like Greg said, if you go to the events section, you see their past events. It's chock full of anything you could want to do. So just stay tuned for those events that'll pop up. Also, the website, we've got the link to that on there. So they couldn't make it any easier for you all to go and check out, because it's definitely just the little while that I got to see it. Definitely I got to come back.
Mhm.
Definitely.
So,
Love to have you.
Yeah, so
um,
hopefully we'll get up there this year.
yeah. And so just want to mention, speaking of events, of some really cool things, we want to mention those. We'll pull Greg off here in a second, mention those events that we've got coming up here with the one in March
Mhm.
and Goblin Con and such. But Greg, thank you so
Thank you,
much
Greg.
for taking the time, and folks in the chat room, thank you so much for tuning in and your questions and comments.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Okay, stick around. We'll talk to you here in just a second, Greg.
Alrighty.
And so, as we
Love that guy.
mentioned, yeah, we've got some really cool events that we're participating in. We did have Chad on the show earlier in, actually, it was in at the end of December.
Yeah.
We had Chad on the show talking about the True Crime Convention. Unfortunately, we weren't able to attend that because of the bad weather, but we're on their calendar for Vet City Con that is going to be coming up here at the end of March, March 29th in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the National Corvette Museum. And they are just constantly announcing new guests that are going to be attending this event. So if you enjoy horror and paranormal, and I mean, movies, pop culture, this is the event for you. And so, like I said, they've got all of this on their page. If you go follow it on Facebook, you'll find more information about it. Or you can go back and watch the episode where we had Chad on a few weeks ago to talk about the different events he's got coming up. And then the other one, we're going to pull this up. This is a new one that they're going to be talking, and we're going to be talking a whole lot more about it as time progresses. But if you follow cryptids, and if you're from Kentucky or from the area, Hopkinsville Goblin Con, it is a UFO and paranormal expo that's going to be coming up on October 17th and 18th, and they're actually celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Kelly Little Green Men, or the Hopkinsville Goblin, whichever you know it by.
Yep. So we will be there. We're very excited to be a part of this, and thank you for. We really thank them for inviting us. But if you notice the logos here, all of the logos were designed by my very brilliant business partner, Miranda Young. So she was hired by GoblinCon to create all of their logos and all of their marketing. So if you like what you see here with regard to that, give Miranda a shout. She'll help you set up a logo or a website or anything you need, because she's kind of talented like that.
Well, thank you. It really is an honor to be a part of this.
So she did that one.
Yeah, I ended up doing 3 different logos for them that is going to be used on different pieces of merchandise, as well as throughout GoblinCon. That's their primary logo right there.
She did that one.
So yeah, it was a real honor. So we're very excited to be a part of that. Eric Freeman Sims is the event coordinator on that. And one of the things that I think is so cool about this convention is the fact that it's being actually put on by the city of Hopkinsville. And Geraldine, the daughter of the guy who experienced the Hopkinsville Goblin, she's given her stamp of approval. She's the one doing this, but it just adds a lot of legitimacy to an event when you actually have the town and Visitors Bureau backing that. So kudos to Kentucky for the work that they put into highlighting these cryptids and historic locations and the paranormal aspect of that with Kentucky After Dark. So we're going to talk a little bit more about all that on my show, which will be at 9 p.m. Eastern time here on Ghost Biker Explorations. But guys, check it out. And so we'll be talking more about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you so much to Greg. Please go check out Fort Mifflin. Check out all the events that they have going on there. All of the events and stuff, all the revenue that they raise through the paranormal does go to the historic preservation of Fort Mifflin. So anything that you can do to help them out, tell Greg we sent you, because he's just a great guy. Even if you just go to talk to Greg, you'll get a wealth of information about Fort Mifflin and about the area in general, but because he knows it all. So.
Yes, and next week we have a great guest lineup. We will actually have Eric Freeman Sims himself on the show. He's going to be talking about GoblinCon. He's going to be talking a little bit about the Night House, the Unseen Paranormal podcast, and most importantly, his book that he is releasing. We actually got him. He's going to be given an exclusive the day before his book releases, and 2 very cool places are highlighted in this specific book. But again, we'll talk all about that next week. Yep. So that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time on the Jailhouse Informant podcast.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you to Greg from Fort Mifflin.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody.